All right, everyone, welcome to the Bohorror Tales podcast. Now, for the co-host today, I have Madison
Hi.
and Christopher.
Hi, period.
Okay, so, as you probably could tell by the title, today we're going to be going over the Salem witch trials and the history of it, kind of like our personal opinions on witches and, is it real? Is it fake? What really happened in Salem? And so that's what we're going to be covering today. So, about the first 15 minutes or so, we're going to be covering the history and stuff. Me and Mads will mainly go over that. Chris will have his input here and there, but mainly me and Mads know what happened then. And we're going to be, for the next 15 minutes, we're going to be giving like the skeptics. So our opinions on it. Do we think it was real? Do we think it was fake? And then kind of just in between there. So that's a bit of our setup for today. So, like I said, history at first. Let's go around first. Do you guys think that the accused witches in Salem really practiced witchcraft? The magic, the potions, the lifting the children into the air. Do you think that was real? Mads, how about you go first?
So, as a person who practices witchcraft, the craft nowadays is very very subtle, and it's very manifesting rather than actual physical movement. Like, I can't move a chair with my mind, but if I gather the right materials, I can do like a consensual love spell with somebody else that will grow like relationships and intentions. And while I do like to believe that the Salem witch trials, there was a lot of like cultural elements of witchcraft there, I don't believe that there was any physical like levitation or floating.
Okay.
So yeah, that's just my standpoint on it.
So you believe in the more like mellow, like manifestation, if you put in negative or positive energy will come out.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Chris, what do you think? Do you agree with that? Do you have anything to add?
I agree. I feel like when it comes to things like that were made, like it seems like people, it like, oh my God, I'm sorry, can't catch my words. Like the way that people in the past made it seem was that the witches were like more magical than they actually were, from what I can tell, and that it was much more like fantasy related, and in reality it was more like Matt's kind of said, it was more like emotional rather than like physical stuff.
Okay. Now me, I think probably, I honestly doubt there was anything at play. I doubt there was even manifestation or anything like that. I think that's more of a more recent thing that we've kind of done, but I honestly doubt that, back then they were still doing that. Now, obviously, I would love to believe that magical spells and potions, were a real thing and they existed then, and, these people were practicing that, and that's why they were actually thrown in there, and not that they were just falsely accused. I think these girls were either sickly ill or they honestly just wanted attention from the townsfolk. So that's kind of my little bit of a opinion on the matter, getting into it. So now that we've laid out our little things here, let's go into a little bit of the history. See if we can, if we go through the history here, see if we can add anything to our opinions and anything like that. So, to begin, 1692. I believe it was early winter. Everything was going pretty cool. Cool, no pun intended, but everything was good. Everything was fine. And then, Betty Paris, the daughter of Samuel Paris, and Abigail Williams, which is the adopted daughter of Samuel Paris, were a little bit funky. They were a little bit weird. They were, to my knowledge, they were a little bit sick. They seemed to convulse, and it was almost like you were in shock. Like you just sat there, or you would freak out, similar to that of a seizure. And so when Samuel Paris took Betty, I believe it was just Betty. I didn't know if Abigail was at this time doing the same thing. But when he took one of them into the town's doctor, he said he could not find anything physically ill wrong with them. So he recommended that it could be the devil's work. It could be witchcraft. So that's what he had come to a conclusion to. Now, obviously, if you jump to that conclusion, that is going to start massive panic, especially if you're the daughter of a church reverend. And this was back when church and state weren't separate. So, you have the ideals of the church are the rules of the town. So when you have beliefs and laws coinciding, that can really mess things up. Mads, do you have anything to add to that?
Not really. I think you've said it all. Just I
Okay.
learned it like I said, I like in the other one that we did, which failed. I also mentioned that I learned it a different way, and it was just kind of like it was more of I don't think you've gotten to the slave to tuba part, but
Yeah, I haven't. No, but
if you wanted to go over that before I say anything more.
you can take over if you want.
Okay, so where did you pick off at? You were at the
Well, this
part.
is after they were sick, and keep in mind, Tatuba was kind of babysitting them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so Tatuba was their slave, and like Samuel Paris's slave, and basically she would babysit them, the kids, like Abigail Williams and their daughter Betty. And I think I learned it that Betty was the one who convulsed and had like really strange illnesses and stuff,
Yeah.
and they initially blamed it on Tituba, mainly because she was the one who was baking everything. And one of the main things that they really accused it of, which I did my research, was moldy rye bread, or food that wasn't what's the word? Food that wasn't really good to eat, or something that was like that. So
Perishable.
yeah.
Okay.
So the townspeople and everybody were like, okay, so we need to do these trials for like this girl, and I mean, we can't have witchcraft here, we're just a new town and things of that nature. So what had happened was they also had accused two other people, Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne, and so they were on trial, and Tituba confessed at the trials, and the two other didn't admit. That's how I learned it, was the two other witches didn't admit.
Yeah.
But they were still under interrogation. Yeah.
So like Madison was saying, Tituba the slave was practicing, as they say, quote unquote, witchcraft, and these were just parts of her culture and religion that she brought in from Barbados. They were hoodoo and voodoo. So really, to her and her people, it wasn't really witchcraft as the Europeans, I believe it's the Europeans, that the Europeans thought. So anything, what people don't know, they're afraid of, especially white crazy people. So just all this stuff coming into it, they're like, oh, we've never seen that before. That's probably witchcraft. She's doing all these things that go against the church. And that really starts to spread mass hysteria, mass panic within a small community. And, when everybody's Christian and they all believe the same things, it's really easy to get manipulated. But, as time went on, people were hanged and killed. Giles Corey was pressed to death. People died in jail. Sarah Good, her daughter actually confessed to witchcraft just so she could go to jail with her mother because she was alone.
Yeah.
And eventually that daughter died in jail. And Sarah Good was also pregnant at the time. And before Sarah Good was hanged, the baby died in jail shortly before she was hanged. And then Bridget Bishop was the first to be executed on June 10th, I believe, 1692. So with all these things happening, and all these things like that. And it really only stopped once, I believe, one of the reverends or one of the court people, once someone accused his wife. So it kind of shows you, they can still blindly kill these people, but when it comes to one of them, suddenly the allegations are completely false. And I believe Abigail Williams ran off somewhere overseas, and I believe she became a prostitute. And then yeah, and then Tituba the slave was sold back into slavery.
That's not fun.
Awful.
Not funny.
I was laughing at the prostitute thing. Okay, so anyway,
Cancel Dare Bear.
She was sold back into slavery to pay for her expenses and stuff, and she was like one of the only survivors of that. There was like 19 dead overall. But Chris, now that you know a little bit of the history, because me and Matt's kind of laid it out, does this change your opinions at all? Because
I knew my fair share of history.
Okay.
Okay. But in my opinion, it was just very strange the way that they tried to figure out who was accountable. Like one of the ways was they literally made the accused witches pee, and they baked the pee into a cake, and they made dogs eat it. And
Ew.
I'm not really
I've
sure
heard of
what
that
the
before, I think.
correlation was.
They were just bored.
Yeah, I don't really know what the correlation to dogs eating a cake have to do with witchcraft.
I know it. Okay, because dogs were they would always be like, oh well, if your dog is like in love with you or like something like that, like with one of the accused witches, they were like the familiars. That's where
Also, can dogs
that's
even
why
eat cake?
Can dogs?
girl, especially
They can eat
cakes,
cake.
goodbye.
They can eat cake, but you have to be really careful. When Aussie, my
Chocolate
dog,
cake, broken heart emoji.
when he had his birthday, I got him a cake. And he ate it fine, but it was a small cake. But I didn't really look into it. So you got to be careful
Is
with
that
like
why
just how.
Aussie has severe problems?
No, you got to be careful. You got to be careful with the sugar amounts and stuff like that. So now that we've laid down and by the way, bringing up the familiar spirits, the only evidence that they really use in court was something called spectral evidence, which basically came with this idea that the familiars. So these demonic spirits were, they took the forms of animals to assist that of the witches. So Abigail Williams or Betty Paris or Mary Warren, when they were sitting there prosecuting these witches in court, they would say that they were affected by these familiar spirits. And basically, they would start shaking up or freak out and act like there was like a bird spirit above them, like hitting them with their beak or something, and they would scream in court. So that was really the only evidence they could use, and I believe eventually they stopped using that. But that's what it was for most of the trial and everything like that. So with all of these deaths, with all of these accusations, you can only wonder why. Was there real magic at play? Was it mass hysteria?
Wait, can I share something I found out?
What?
Yes.
They convicted and killed 2 dogs because they thought the witches had taken over them.
I researched that before we did this because I was like, why are they talking about dogs so much? Because I was reading this thing. And yeah, they literally, if a dog liked you and you were accused of being a witch, they would either 1, hang the dog, or they would 2, hang both of you. Or it really depended on like what was going on with the dog. Like, like dogs were used so much in the Salem witch trials, and
Girl,
a
they
lot
would
more
hang
died
the
than
dog? Why
people.
wouldn't they just like shoot it? Anyways.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter.
They
That's what I read.
Wait, also I didn't know that it wasn't just cake that they gave the dog, it was also like rye bread.
Wait,
Yeah,
did
that's
they
what I was
have
saying about the rye.
Surely they had muskets, did they? Surely.
Probably.
Well, when they went and took over the the Indians' land, Native Americans, they had guns, didn't they?
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah, because
surely.
they took over the land. They must have.
Yeah, the Spaniards too. Okay, that was a little bit of a tangent there. So yeah, there was all these weird methods to test if someone was a witch or not. Most of them were obviously not ethical or correct. So all these people died. Was there real magic at play? Was it mass hysteria? Like, it's kind of this question.
Derek.
What was the real reason? Yes.
Okay, so last time we tried to film this podcast, I said something about that one test that I was talking about where they like touched them. I had actually looked that up because it was like bugging me. It's called the touch test, where the person is blindfolded and it's supposed to show if the person that's being accused put a spell on anybody or like something like that. So it was girl. It was basically like they were blindfolded, and the suspected witch would be like instructed to lay a hand on them, and if the girl didn't react to like anything, then they were normal and like everything was fine. But if she became calm or something, then it kind of showed that she put a spell on the person she was touching.
Girl.
And that really makes
right.
That literally makes absolutely no sense. But it makes no sense to me, but that's just because they were so like going crazy over this shit. They were so scared. And
Chris,
they were just
they
like,
worried about the wrong
thing.
Right.
I know.
Girl, wasn't there like slavery going on back then and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Girl, obviously, we talked about Tituba the slave. Clearly,
Tituba.
Right. Plus, there was Indians, and well,
yes.
I mean, I'm just referring to them as Indians because
why was Tituba ahead of her time?
Listen, the Native Americans and the Indian I'm just gonna refer to them as Indians because that's what they did because they're stupid. But,
cancel.
Okay. So in the woods, because like I said, this is a small Salem village. In the woods, the Indians would come in there kind of silently. They'd be like, and they would look for people sometimes. If you went by the woods by yourself, that was kind of like a target. Like imagine you just go missing, and then your scalp is just found on the ground.
Wait, Dare Bear.
Yes.
Is the place you keep the storyboarders hidden away called the Salem Village?
Yes, that is where I make them work. Like it's the small town with some smoke coming out of the top.
I have another test if you're curious. This is about the dog thing.
Okay.
About the urine cakes. I just looked it up. It's where they take the victim's urine, some rye meal, a sprinkle of ashes, and then they mix them together and then bake it. And when the dish is finished, they feed it to the dog.
I said
and then
that.
If the dog, no, like I'm actually like reading it because I'm really curious. Like you didn't even describe the whole thing. Let me show. But basically, it's like if the dog fell under its spell and exhibited the same symptoms as the victim, then it was proven that quote unquote hocus pocus actually occurred.
Girl, you're sitting there feeding a damn dog some urine cake. Like, what do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah, like if they don't want to eat it, what do you expect?
Right.
Well, I just read that off this article, so it must be true.
Wow, if I was a dog, why would I have devoured the urine cake?
No. But anyways,
so
yeah, they were very crazy because I mean, it's not like they had anything to compare this to in any way. So it was just like they were like, okay, let's just do this random ass test.
They had this stuff in Europe. Because in Europe, I believe the actual witch burning stopped about 300 years before this. Or they might have still been doing it in Europe. I can't remember. 300 or 30 years, something with 3. But anyways, there was no actual burnings in Salem. That's a popular, trope, but there was never actually any burnings. There was only ever died in jail, hanged, or pressed to death, and I don't think there was any drowning.
Yeah, there's just casual things.
Just very casual. Popular death, ways of death. But so yeah. So, was Ursula and Winifred here, or was it a YouTube witch that would read you tarot cards?
Fun fact: the youngest witch to be convicted was a 4-year-old.
I believe it was Sarah Good's daughter, right?
Must be.
Dorothy Good, broken heart emoji.
Yeah, see? Sarah Good's daughter. I told you.
Oh, why is Dorothy Good ahead of her time?
She was very ahead of her time. So
where is Dorothy Good today?
She's dead, girl.
Probably dead, girl.
Why is she roaming the streets as a ghost?
Chris, do you kind of hear Matt's lag a little bit as well?
A little bit, but I think it adds to her character development.
My character development is growing as laggy as my computer.
Maz's character development is talking about Salem witch trials and then going to put a curse on one of the members of Bohorror.
I put a spell on you, and now you're mine. What if I did that to you, Derek? What would you do?
I would kind of cry.
And this is where they stop listening to the podcast.
Right. Well, we have about 8 minutes left, I believe. You're not getting a notification, are you, Mads, saying that the recording has to end? Okay, so I believe about 8 minutes or so, that's when things are going to... Well, we have an extra 10 minutes after that, but I want to try and leave it off at about 30 minutes. So we got about 8 minutes or so.
Let's ask the concluding question.
Let me ask the audience.
Okay.
Is it
concluding
real?
question? Yes, that's the concluding question. Was the magic in Salem real? To be honest, I feel like if it was real, we would definitely see some fucking potion shops around here.
Right.
There, people floating around in creative mode and shit.
Like many things would be different if we had potions, broken heart emoji.
My thing is, right. I really would like to believe that people could levitate and shit because that would make a really good movie.
Right, and also I wouldn't have to walk.
Imagine seeing Dare Bear floating from very far away.
No. I'm imagining Chris's wig flying in the wind.
Why would Mads first practice potion to be a potion to levitate my wig off?
Right. Practicing right now.
I mean,
but anyways,
my natural hair, not my wig. Oops.
Oh,
right.
Natural.
Looks to side. Okay.
But anyways,
the conclusive question was Salem magic real? Kris, was it real? Yes or
I'm
no?
sorry if you can hear me popping bubble wrap, but the question at hand.
Shut up.
If it was real, probably not, because like
That's it. Probably
I
not.
feel like if we can't even figure it out now, how the hell were they gonna do it ancient times?
That's what I'm saying. We don't have much evidence of any of this actually happening. What if this was all fake? Like even
I
the
know.
Salem witch trials
I've been thinking
itself.
about that. I've
What do
been
you mean,
thinking
what
about how,
if?
like, what if everything in the history books was just like that? We need character development.
It's
so
like
let's
it's like a fan fiction.
America needs character development. Heart eye emoji.
They're like, let's teach these kids something so they believe in something. So they're like, okay, let's give this random ass time.
So the Salem witch trials itself is very. No one can really prove it. It's something that just like.
Oh wait, I have a fact. Sarah
What?
Jessica Parker's has a.
Yeah, she's related to one of the witch
Really?
people. Sarah
Why is she
Jessica
the only
Parker.
piece of evidence?
By the way, for those of you who don't know, Sarah Jessica Parker played Sarah in Hocus Pocus. She was the blonde witch. It's a very dumb one.
And she was in Sex and the City.
Shut up. She was in Sex and the City.
She's the one who looks. She's the one who looks like a ginger horse.
No, I said that she looked like the horse. I said this like 2 years ago. Maybe we should start that trend up again.
Jeffree Star.
No.
Anyways, why smells like Sarah? Never mind. So
No.
so Magic in Salem. Honestly, it definitely was not real. I very highly doubt it. And maybe the this meeting will end in 10 minutes. Okay, that's pretty much what came up. So
that's
in about
a great notification.
Right. So in about 5 minutes is when we're going to cut it off. So maybe we can record episode 2 right after this.
We shall see.
We shall see when Matt's going to leave. Anyways.
Wait,
Okay.
Derek. I have a question for you.
What? What's your question for me?
So,
Let's do Deborah Q&A.
So since we're on the topic of the Salem witch trials,
Fuck my drag, right?
You should tell the audience what was your inspiration for basing your comic off of number 1 Roswell and the Salem witch trials.
She's like, did Salem have any inspo from the Salem witch trials?
Right. I was just about to say, like, girl, my inspo for Roswell
they copied his comic. They made the real thing. Guys,
bro,
I don't understand.
They
I can't believe they made
in real life.
They made a real life.
Like Salem.
They made a real life town named after a Deborah comic, y'all. OMG.
Answer the question, girl.
Okay, so to answer your question, that's a very dumb question because Roswell is obviously inspired by fucking Roswell.
Look how Dare Bear treats his fans.
No.
No, I was asking like separately, like Roswell, Mexico. Like what was the inspiration for that and the Salem witch trials? Like Salem.
What was the driving force to choose those locations?
Yes.
Because I like aliens and witches.
Okay.
I mean, you guys have seen our
Anyways, Kris Q&A. Kris.
Hi.
You're very beautiful. Yes.
That's not the question, girl. Okay, so we got 3 minutes on the clock. Kris, Maz, do you have anything else to really add to this topic?
I don't really believe now that we said all this, I kind of don't even believe that the Salem witch trials is real. But I like to think that I have at least one thing to believe in life.
All 13-year-olds with a gemstone collection have to believe something's real.
No.
I look to the side of the gemstone collection, and so does Mads. Okay, listen. Obviously, a part of me would love to think that magic is real, and a fairy, what is her name? What is Tinkerbell? All this would be very interesting, but if you really dumb it down, this shit didn't happen.
And if you think about it, it sounds very bad on their part that they just hung a bunch of random people.
It does.
No shit, girl.
Just especially with the riots and stuff going on right now, this is not backing America up at all, girl.
Wait, didn't this stuff happen in like Pilgrim ages?
Yes. Yeah, it was before we started.
Why did
the Revolution?
They're too smart. They did it before cancel culture happened.
No.
They actually, you know what? When they were forming the Constitution, they actually took in account to the Salem witch trials. That's why they made church and state separate. So if you really think if it didn't happen, America could be a lot different.
Girl, American history is literally
It could be even
fan-fiction.
worse somehow.
Just like, do you guys ever sit there and be like, did Thomas Jefferson ever fucking exist, or is it just like people randomly wrote the
No,
Constitution?
literally, I'd be thinking like not in a narcissistic way, but I'd be thinking nothing happened before I was born.
It's kind of like
Like I
it's
just
because
popped into the earth, and then everything revolves around my existence.
Yes.
it's because of this narrative that you get. That's really all you have. You don't know what it's like to be in another person's brain because it's impossible.
I just
You
don't
really
like the
only know
idea that
yourself.
someone. I just don't like the idea that someone was alive like thousands of years ago before me. Like
I know.
It's very surreal.
But anyways,
all right, everybody. So, I really thank you for enjoying the podcast.
Wait, I have one last question.
Oh my god.
You gotta hurry up.
Okay. What do you guys think is the correlation with broomsticks and witch hats?
Okay, so there was this thing. Not only did the witch hats come from pilgrims because they would wear out in the sun to block the sunlight, but also broomsticks was a thing. Thomas Putnam and his daughter, I believe it was Ann Putnam, they wanted everybody's land in Salem because if you died, basically, the town owned the land, so you could go buy it. So it's kind of like a monopoly, like owning all this land and property.
Yeah.
So they accused this old guy of like flying on a broomstick and shit, like just weird, random shit. So that's where that correlates from. That's where that comes from. Now, the greenness and the ugly nose, I suppose that comes from making them look more monstrous for.
Yeah, I feel like they just needed witches to have more of like a stigmatic
monster
character.
Yeah, so more of an iconic design. But that's pretty much it for the Salem witch trials for the moment. We might open this episode back up for a part 2 if we find anything or if we think something else needs to be added. But right now I think it's a good case, a cold case.
Yes.
So thank you guys for joining the Bohorror Tales podcast, and this has been episode 1.
Thank you very much for watching.
Yeah, and hopefully this isn't the last one because we have no integrity.
Yes.
Right. All right.
Okay, everyone say bye.
Bye.
Bye.